GPT-5 is officially here and across the board. It is the best model you can use today. We're talking agentic coding, research capabilities. If you need help...
But Kevin, look at the colors. ChatGPT can now talk to me in whatever color I want. Chartreuse, baby. This is AGI.
Sure, but we're going to show you why this is probably going to be your new go-to AI.
Significantly better writing, way less hallucinations, and maybe more importantly, new colors for my little chatty.
Please don't call it your little chatty.
You're right, Kevin. Those colors are perfect for certain things like misleading graphics. There was a crime that came out of the charts on this one.
There were a couple unforced errors, sure, but there were also a lot of benchmarks.
Yeah, and the benchmarks are pretty good. I don't know if they're $500 billion good, but they're good.
Okay, what about the vibes though, Gavin? How are the vibe markets reacting?
The vibes are off the charts! We're rounding up all the early impressions so that you don't have to.
Plus, Google just teased Genie 3. It's an AI-powered interactive world engine, and honestly, it is one of the most impressive things we have seen in this space probably ever.
That and 11 Labs just released a new artist-friendly AI music model, plus some not-so-family-friendly image and video models from Uncle Elon.
Gavin, you promised no waifu content at the top of the show.
I lied. This is AI for liars. All right, everybody, it is the biggest week in I don't know how long. Actually, it is here, Kevin. I look back on our old shows and we talked about where is GPT-5 over a year ago. One of our YouTube videos was titled, Where is GPT-5? Today, OpenAI announced and will be rolling out to some places. Kevin has access to it within Cursor. I do not have access yet in my GPT Plus account. GPT-5, Kevin, let's talk about this. What is this? Where are we going with it? How does the world change?
GPT-5 is here, Gavin.
Wait, what did you call it? GPT-5
5
What's mean?
5 If you put the number 5 and then it looks like summer, baby. It's a hot boy 5 Wherever your brain went is not appropriate.
Before we jump right in, let's just see a little bit from Sam at the top because he had some thoughts right away.
Today, finally, we're launching GPT-5. GPT-5 is a major upgrade over GPT-4 and a significant step along our path to AGI.
All right, Kev, so today, GPT-5, 3 models. We're going to get into talk about the benchmarks. We're going to get to talk about a bunch of other stuff, but the vibes,
Did
as
it
we
kind
mentioned...
of feel like for a multi-billion-dollar company, Gavin, the unveiling of what should be the next-gen foundational something that's earth-shaking, it kind of had the same energy as like, hey, my son just learned a new dance from TikTok. Everybody gather in the kitchen. Let's watch him do the thing with the floss, kid.
I personally appreciate this as somebody who has given and done media training, that they are willing to just these are people that work hard and they're out there doing this stuff. But Kevin, it's very important to talk about what was talked about. So first and foremost, GPT-5, brand new model. It is replacing all of the other models. All the former AI models from OpenAI are going to be depreciated. So goodbye GPT-4o, goodbye GPT 4.5. Everybody gets this. But Kevin, I think the biggest thing that kind of came out pretty early is this is going to be free for everybody. And that is a transformative moment. A lot of people have talked about the idea that when DeepSeek happened, that was a big deal because people had never seen a reasoning model before. And they're like, why is this so much better than GPT-4o? We are talking the fact that students are going to get it. In fact, I think that's why they dropped it now. They're dropping it in August 7th, which is when most schools go back. So they know that they're going to get students. But more importantly, worldwide. This is a really big deal that suddenly everybody's going to have a state-of-the-art reasoning model in their pockets to do anything.
They bought chat.com for a reason, Gavin. I think if you talk to most people, it's like, well, have you used an AI? And something like, oh, I use chat, or I've chat GPT'd. Well, this becoming the default, like you said, for everyone else, this being non-pay gated, this opens the doors for everybody to experience it. It is best in class right now, largely across the board, and we'll get into benchmarks versus the sincere sort of vibe check of it all, which is becoming more real as these benchmarks become more irrelevant, oddly enough. But this is the go-to model. And in the past, people come to us all the time to say, what model should I use for this or that or the other? I think now by and large, maybe outside of video generation or music generation, it's, well, you're just going to go to GPT-5. You're going to go
for
chat.
now. For now.
We reserve the right
yes.
to be wrong by this time next Thursday.
Yes, because Gemini may be sitting on Gemini 3, and Logan Kilpatrick has kind of teased that idea. And if you remember, Kevin, I mentioned this on the AI for Humans Twitter channel. What was it, 2 years ago when the 4.0 advanced voice thing came out? They scheduled that right the day before Google's I.O. I bet Google wants to do a little flip-flop. Anyways, let's talk more about this model. I do want to show a tweet from Ethan Mollick that I think encapsulates this. Ethan had early access to it. OpenAI, if you're out there, we always would love to get early access as well. We can't promise we will do the great things that Ethan Mollick does, but Ethan said this, and I just want to quote it because I think this is kind of a general sense of it. He said, I had access to GPT-5, and I think it's a very big deal. It is very smart and just does stuff for you. And he's showing a procedural brutalist building creator where he drags and edits building, something he did, and he is a professor, not a programmer. But this is like a version of what I saw lots of people talking about, this idea that you do stuff, and in the past, it might have not done things for you, but it just does stuff. And Kev, maybe that translates us to like talking a little bit about these benchmarks, because I think if you were to look at the numbers, they might seem disappointing to some people.
Well, it depends on what chart you're looking at, Gavin. If you're looking at a chart where the Y scale is just sort of a vague suggestion, you might see massive leaps.
Yes.
In some cases, you might see a number in the 50s dwarfing a number in the 70s because benchmarks are made up. But bad charts aside, the benchmarks largely most people aren't going to care about. They're a weird,
That's exactly right.
measuring contest.
You know who cares?
What?
Who already cares?
Who cares?
Elon. He already tweeted out,
sure.
we beat this on that. But anyway, I think in general, most people could give a crap about benchmarks at this point.
Well, listen, benchmarks for a while were a way of really showing the differences between the models. Now, again, across the board, the benchmarks are fairly good here. What are the benchmarks actually testing? How well can it accomplish things like using tools to accomplish tasks, reasoning through critical math problems, or even language problems, the quality of the code that it's spitting out. They have all these different benchmarks, which are just a series of tests that all these models go through. Some models do well because they're trained to do well on the benchmarks. Others are poisoned, meaning their data sets have some of the test problems in there. So there are issues with benchmarks, but by and large, they give you a general understanding of how these things work. We are now at a point in time where, save for a few benchmarks, the models across the board perform well at them. So when you see something go from 72 to 79, well, yeah, that number's higher. That's good, right? Would you rather have $72 or $79? Probably 79, but at this point,
not me. I'm more for less money. That's my goal.
Well, you're in a rarefied tax bracket.
I really am.
That 79
I need to bring my income
down.
I need to bring my income down.
But no, so the benchmarks did go up as expected. Yes. I also expect that next week there might be another model that is slightly better with its benchmarks.
There was one benchmark that went down, and I think this is a really important one to talk about.
Yes, absolutely.
So in my mind, one of the biggest benchmarks they showed was the reliability and accuracy benchmark, and this is testing hallucinations. And if you look at this chart shows you basically how much it's making up crap. Everybody out there in the world, when they talk about AI, they're like, it's not trustworthy. You can't see it. It makes up things all the time. This shows that it's still going to probably do some hallucinating, but these are massive reductions. And they did say on the live stream that they have specifically been attempting to lower hallucinations. And I think this is where another thing, kind of like it being free, the world at large may not be ready for an intelligence that actually works and doesn't make stuff up. Now, again, this is not perfect. You can see some of these numbers. It's still hallucinating some things, but especially on the health bench, hard hallucinations number, you are seeing O3 was hallucinating at a 12.9% rate, and GPT-5 with thinking is at 1.6. So when you think about use cases in health and healthcare, which they did talk about on the live stream, they had a woman who came out who had cancer, who had used ChatGPT to help her understand it better, and then played with the new models. That is a really big deal, I think.
We have specifically been saying for the last almost year and a half now, I think, maybe a little bit more, that health specifically is a sector that these models really excel in. These were the older models that did hallucinate, that did get things wrong, and they were already in many cases outperforming medical professionals with the domain expertise and whatever they happen to be a professional on. So you're right. I'm glad you put extra light on this particular benchmark, because this is an incredibly important one. And when you talk about all of the sectors that will rely on this intelligence for hardcore math or physics or medical diagnosis, this is something that does have to come down, and it's there. And also, like, again, somewhat benchmarked is the speed.
Yes.
Even many are remarking that even if the intelligence and the capability of GPT-5 hadn't gone up, which it has across the board, the speed versus something like an O3 is so much faster now that it is making them already 5 to 10x more productive, because they can just keep trying over and over again with things until they get the result they need.
What do you think is the max human X productive? Like, when you start getting to like a 50x more productive, do your fingers burn off like when you're typing, or does your voice go hoarse? Like, I kind of have, we gotta have our own benchmark here. Like, what's max productive? Like, if we can make, somebody in our audience maybe make a character, or also Will could attempt to make a character of max productive, so he's like a superhero with like giant forearms. We need our own benchmark, Kevin.
Yeah, he should look like a Monster Energy can just vaped Guy Fieri. And he's max performance. He also sounds like a pill you get over the counter at a gas station.
Ooh,
with some
max
rhinos
productive.
On it. But
next
either
to
way,
the
max
rhino,
productive.
next to the rhino blood. Yeah.
That's right. He rides 2 rhinos at the same time.
Oh,
He's
wow.
max
No, he
productive.
doesn't. No, he doesn't. That's not family friendly. The other thing I want to talk about, Kevin, quickly is the vibes in this instance. When you hear people talk about the vibes of a language model, it really means like how it's performing for actual people, right? In difference to the benchmarks where you have these kind of like questions that are set up, vibes are a reason to like really understand what's going on. And I do want to shout out, there's a lot of different things we talk about here, coding and all sorts of other stuff, but there's a great YouTuber named Theo who has a pretty big YouTube channel, but he says, I don't care about intelligence benchmarks now. I'm post-eval, which means he's post that, he says, GPT-5 does what it tells you to do. No other model behaves that well. This well. Trust me, don't judge it until you try it in an editor, which Kevin did. Give it tools, give it instructions, watch it cook. So this is very much a vibes comment. But Kevin, maybe tell us a little bit about your experience.
I will, and Matt Schumer similarly, Gavin. He's had access since July 21st. So shout out to Matt.
Whoa, that's a good. He's got deep early access then.
He's had it for a minute, and he said, like, basically at first he was underwhelmed, and then he threw a problem at it that him and his engineering team were struggling with, and thought it might take weeks to engineer, and it essentially one-shotted it. It came up with an elegant solution to a very complex engineering task, and sort of did it without any fuss. And what we're hearing again, it's better than O3 intelligence. It is super fast, long context handling, which is a thing which, if you are giving it a novel and saying, help me write the next chapter, or you're giving it a 10,000 line code base and saying, here's a problem, or all of your medical history, all your financial documents, whatever those things are, this thing doesn't lose context.
What was the name of the guy we just made who was the Max? What was his name?
Well, Max Productive.
Max Productive. What if he's the star of our own novel? If somebody wants to take on that, Max Productive as a novel in some form. We write a novel with this in some. Cool
Gavin
way.
handing out homework to the audience left and right. We need $1 million donation, and someone needs to write Max Productive.
Yes, please. Yes,
as long
please,
as he is writing 3 rhinos on the cover. There are several modes to this, right? There's the auto mode, there's a thinking mode, and then the pro mode, which Matt didn't even have access to then.
Yeah.
And pro mode will basically spin up a bunch of these things instead of just running one instance. But
wow.
So here are the vibes. I have been struggling with a little secret project that you and I are working on. I've been struggling with a particular task for the last 3.5, 4 days, using Google's Gemini Pro and using Claude Code Max, their Opus model, going back and forth, trying to get this problem solved. Varying degrees of success, and then something else breaks. I, just before we did this podcast, without even giving full context, said, hey, GPT-5 with Max within Cursor, which is a coding app. And I said, here's the kind of issue that I'm trying to solve. See what you can see. And it very quickly did a deep dive through the entire code base, identified potential issues, suggested several solves, took it upon itself to make one of those solves, and said, go ahead and try it now. Let me know what you think. And it worked.
Wow.
This is pure anecdotal sauce. Sop it up. But like it's there. This felt transformative to me. And so then I was like, okay, thanks. Can you also check out this other little thing? And it sort of did it. And then there was an issue. I copied and pasted the logs. I just fed it the logs and was like, oh, I see why this is happening. Here's a fix here. It's just doing it. It's not asking
amazing.
questions. It's just solving it. And so I think like maybe for the ultimate test, Gavin, you and I right now could try to one-shot your benchmark.
Well, since we are talking about Max Productive as a character, Kevin, should we try to do a mini 3JS, like a 3JS kind of game sort of prompt around Max Productive? And maybe Max Productive is in a bodega, and his job is to swat away rhinos as they try to knock stuff off the shelf behind him. You asked.
I thought we were doing animal brackets, but that's okay. That's all right. And there's no bad ideas, as we know this.
No bad ideas.
But I feel like in Max Productive lore, he is a friend of the rhinos. He rides the rhnos, right? So now you have him swatting away the rhinos.
Idea. I was thinking there's like a series of rhinos riding. It's almost like Frogger, and he has to jump from rhino to rhino to get from one side of the screen to the other. So there's rhinos that are going left and right, and his job is to jump. And there's one bad rhino in each mix that turns him into less Max Productive. And he can only hit three. He can only hit 3 less Max Productive rhinos, or else he goes into a stupor and plays video games all night.
Okay, at what point does his...
Hey, that's not going to be in the show. You better stop saying that.
So, Gavin, benchmarkers are, I guess, a little unhappy and
benchmarkers.
saying artificial general intelligence or super intelligence has been pushed back to 2075. Yeah. Sorry, we're going to get robots in the home before we get super intelligence. Others that are surfing the vibe wave seem to be much happier about these models. And again, anecdotal, I'm impressed thus far, but I think we need to rip-a-roni a nice, juicy one-shotter prompt for Max Productive.
Hopefully Will made something that we can use put on t-shirts, because that we're going to have to do it. So Will, I'm really trusting you now.
I think he's a cross between a Slim Jim, like the Slim Jim mascot.
Yep, sure.
Yeah,
well, you mean he's Macho Man?
No, they personified the Slim Jim not too
like
long
a giant
ago.
Stick with arms,
like in the 90s. Yeah, and he had like cool big tall hair.
Like
Am I making that up?
That guy, like the Italian.
Am I hallucinating that? Hold on. Oh, dude, 100% type Slim Jim mascot.
There is. All right, let me Google it.
Type it in.
Oh yeah, it's like a human with giant hair of Slim Jims.
Yeah. Okay. So listen, I have so the folks at home know we are going to try to vibe code a game. One shot. We'll see if it runs. I told this new GPT-5 in max mode in Cursor to make a single page HTML5 game, like a 3D game for Max Productive. I gave it a brief description of Max. I said it should be a Frogger-like world where you leap from rhino to rhino. I even misspelled the second rhino. I said you're trying to collect giant pills which enhance productivity. The more pills you get, the faster everything goes.
Ooh,
and
I
when
like
you
it.
collect 5 pills, a rhino explodes randomly.
Okay.
At 20 pills, you explode and win the game.
We'll
see.
Okay.
We'll see what it does with that. I said nothing else about camera controls or keyboard or commands or power-ups. I'm going to let it do its thing. We'll see if it works.
Yeah, let's rip through a couple other things that were announced here real fast. I do want to talk briefly about their new personas. There are going to be 4 new personas in ChatGPT, which is kind of a big deal. The reason this is a big deal, Kevin, because now you can determine, do you want a cheerful and adaptive persona? Do you want a cynic, critical and sarcastic? Do you want a robot, efficient and blunt, a listener, thoughtful and supportive, or here you go, nerd, exploratory and enthusiastic? So those are the 4 new personas, meaning that you can tell ChatGPT how you want it to respond to you, which actually is kind of cool, because there might be certain things where, like, I want to role play ChatGPT as Kevin, or I'm sorry, not Kevin, Kayvon. Kayvon is who I sometimes role play with ChatGPT. I want to make sure that they're the listener thing. I definitely don't want the cynic, because I get enough of that in my real life. So I would use the listener one.
Wow, shots fired. Yeah, I think that's good. Also, like tiny little things for developers, like verbosity as something you can dial in. If you've ever worked with these things at length, sometimes they get unnecessarily yappy, right?
Yes.
And again, as someone who gets enough of that in their personal life, sometimes it's nice to just turn the dial down. And
Maybe
isn't this therapeutic for everybody? Isn't this
we need to
great?
talk about the new voice updates right now as well, because maybe I need to talk to somebody that isn't somebody else. And there are new voice updates. It's much more steerable. You can get it to respond to you in single words, which is pretty cool. So if you really want voice to just say yes or no or specific things, it won't go on forever, which sometimes is annoying with voice mode. And also better speed and control, right? There was a really interesting demo where they asked it to speed up how it was speaking in Korean. Maybe we can show a little bit of that here.
and slow it down, which is very helpful when learning any new language or diving into a new topic.
Could you speak that part really slowly? Because I'm a beginner and I want to hear every word clearly.
물론이죠. 그럼 정말 천천히 말해볼게요. 안녕하세요.
And again, we don't know you. I mean, hi, we try to know you, but we don't know what your daily usage, what your projects are, what your creative unlocks are, what your blockers have been. And through the demos that they had and through the anecdotal vibes that we're seeing now, whether you want to make a castle defense game in 3D where you fire cannons and pop balloons, which was a fine demo. It's no max productive. We'll get to that. Or you need to make a front end for your business, or you want to make a bespoke French tutorial game that gives you flashcards in a game where you are a
what was
mouse eating cheese. I think it's like a weird
wasn't.
snake
Were
game.
you a mouse or like a baguette? I couldn't figure out what was going on. Anyway, they did all that live in the demo.
Yeah, they did all this stuff. So again, like we don't know how you're going to use it, but we can say with utmost confidence right now that GPT-5, which is the thing you can select on their website, or it just updated in my Mac app, Gavin. That's it. That's all there is. Gone are the 15 different models that you could select for different reasons and all of that confusion. Now you've got GPT-5, and it's up to everybody else to best that model.
How's Max Productive coming along?
I think it's done. Okay, so it made a single file, which I asked for. It's only 27 kilobits. Wait a second. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Max Productive Rhino Rush. Leap from rhino to rhino, snag giant pills, go faster, explode at 20 to win. Right now it says speed X1, pills 0 out of 20. And it made these little rhinos, by the way, which they look kind of like mice with, I guess, unicorn horns coming out of the front.
It's 3D too.
I am writing on a rhino right now. When I just got a pill, it said vape the hype, and now it says zoom. It also says Kevin for life. It said Gavin sucks.
How does GPT know that? That's what I'd like to know.
I might have hit a couple things into the prompt that I didn't tell you, but it did say Gavin sucks. Now it's saying shake those skates and recover. Do you hear that sound? That's me falling into the world over and over again. So I'm going to it's me falling into the world. That's the death noise.
Got it.
Because it keeps respawning me. I think it says Gavin, more like gravity. I don't know what that even means. Vape the hype. Okay. Yeah, I think it says Gavin, more like it either says gravity or gravy. All right.
Okay.
I'm closing the game. I'm gonna do this. Is gonna be a one. This is gonna be a two-shotter. Make this way more extreme and hype as hell. Go nuts with it. What is crazy, Gavin, is that it was a single file. It was really small. It loaded. It was performant. It did the jaunty music. It had sound effects. It had the high score counter. It did all of the things that, like, you know, not that other models can't do this, but it did it so fast that it was done long before you asked me if it was done.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say the music wasn't terrible either. Like, it was kind of interesting to hear the music that was all generated straight out of the code.
It says, I'm going to make gameplay and UX changes directly in the index.html, safer respawn onto Rhino, closer, more rhinos for easier jumps, stronger jump with coyote time and double jump.
Oh, coyote time. Is that a plugin download?
Dude, I don't know what Coyote Time is, but they get a battle pass from me. That's $9.99 for Coyote Time. Improved camera, speed lines, flash effects for hype, more slogans, and dynamic background music speed.
Okay.
That's what it's putting in right now. So we'll see.
It's coding that right now, and when you're looking at it, how long is it? Is it rewrite? It's basically rewriting the whole thing. And
it thought for 37 seconds. It is now making the high impact gameplay improvements to the HTML file. It says, like, we'll see. But I don't know what Coyote Time is, and I'm so excited.
We'll find out. Meanwhile, Kevin, there's another really big story, which is we do not yet have our $1 million super thanks on YouTube, which I think is probably Gavin. More important than GPT-5. If you're out there, billionaire on a yacht, we know you're sitting there with your little headphones, sitting on your yacht next to, I don't know, a couple otters.
No one wants to be first to the party, right? No one wants to be first in the pool, Gavin. They're waiting. They're circling.
Everybody else out there, if you're watching the show, first of all, thank you. Second of all, please like and share this on YouTube and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. We do this every week. We've been doing it for a while, and we really do appreciate everybody that comes in. If you're on the audio podcast, if you're listening, please leave us a review on the Apple Store. That does make a difference for us. But most of all, thank you. Thank you very much for watching. We appreciate it.
You're literally the only reason this podcast grows. We cannot afford to market it until
I thought
that
you were
yacht
going to say
whale
you're literally
lives
the only
in.
reason I do this because I don't want to see the person across from me any more than I already do.
That's not true, Gavin. I would never.
Should we talk briefly about OpenAI's open weight models, Kevin? Because that was like a story from a day or two ago, but still a really big deal.
It would have been arguably the biggest news of the week if OpenAI hadn't announced something else and released GPT-5. But yes, again, a lot of times we talk on the show, Gavin, about uses of AI, and people get rightfully concerned about things like cost or privacy. Well, if you can run models locally, as in on your own machine or served up on some device that only your household can connect to, that certainly solves a lot of those problems, right?
It
There's
definitely
going to be
does.
a power bill. You're going to need a machine capable enough to run it, but OpenAI released 2 open weights models that you can run completely free on your own devices. So you do not need internet connections. They have devices. They have models that you can run on a fairly
MacBook.
underpowered laptop, like
Yeah.
a MacBook. Yeah, some people are running them on Airs with RAM, and even on like a cell phone. And these are just about as capable as their last generations of models were. So
Yeah.
they're no slouches.
We're benchmarking a little under 03, which is pretty impressive considering you can do these entirely on your own, which I was pretty cool with. There was the guy who does Adonis_Singh, who does the Minecraft test, did show that they're not as performative as they say they are, but that makes sense considering you will be able to do whatever you want with these models. You can run them locally and you don't have to have the man telling you what to prompt for or not prompt for anymore. You can get whatever max power or max productivity
productive
system you want out of it, including rhino pills, probably, if you're really interested in that. It's running.
The music is much faster. Okay, the
Is it
camera's still
working?
very tough. But yeah, yeah. I got nine. Oh God, it's going so fast now. 15 out of 20 pills. I exploded with productivity. Max productive achieved. 20 pills. Victory is mine.
We two-shot a game about max productivity. This is so cool. Like, obviously, didn't one-shot it, which is fair, but like you did get a playable game very fast. And to your point, other systems have done this before, but the speed at which this was done is a big deal, and I still think that's a very cool thing to see. Kevin, speaking of games, there's another major story that I'm sure will get overshadowed now, but I actually think this is the most interesting technical story that I have seen in a long time to come out of AI. I say technical, but it's actually very visual. This is Genie 3, Google DeepMind's brand new world model. We talked about Genie 1 and Genie 2. These were based on video games originally, but Kevin, this model allows you to look around in a simulated world. These are all made up. And more interestingly, unlike other models that we've talked about that does this, you actually have some version of memory. So there's a really good demo of this where they're painting a wall. And normally in these world models, which is literally making frames up as they go along, if you return to the right and then return to the left again, that the paint on the wall would be gone. It is there still, Kevin. The paint on the wall is there, and you can add additional lines of paint. I know that this is like one of those things where it feels like a step in between what was a very rough thing to what will be this like truly transformative, like almost like holodeck thing. But I have to say, I was pretty psyched when I started looking through the examples of this in particular.
Yeah, again, if you're just getting the audio of this, imagine you are seeing a world that looks like a full motion video Grand Theft Auto, where you have control over the character, moving about with the keyboard and mouse. And when we say it's a world model, it's not just that it looks like a world, it's that there are physical interactions within that world. Like Gavin was saying, the painting on the wall that is remembered, there was an example where a character, someone's controlling that, they look down and they see their feet within the game, and they step into a stream and the puddles sort of ripple and radiate out from their footstep. There was another video where it looks like you're watching a user play this experience on a laptop, and then the camera pulls back and you realize, no, this is third person. You're controlling a camera, looking at the person who's playing it on the laptop while it's projected on the screen, and they start to move around, and you're in a 3D space that leads to a beautiful outside world.
Well, hey, but by the way,
all
something
trackable.
more interesting about that one even, and this is the thing, is like this is from Jacob Bauer, and he says, something we discovered by accident, this is almost an emergent behavior. What happens if we start Genie 3 from a video and a completely unrelated prompt?
Yes.
It turns out it really, really wants it to make it work to the point where it emulates itself. So it's actually emulating itself in the room, and then they walk around, and because that tropical island is there, they walk around, and the tropical island is right outside their office. It is crazy when you see that video.
Yeah, Jacob also has one where he feeds it a VO3 video, which is their just plain video generation model of like soaring over some mountains, and it seamlessly transitions from that VO3 video to the Genie 3, which again is the controllable, let's say, interactive game world. And it's not there yet. But if you look at the comparisons from 7 months ago when you and I covered Genie 2, and we're like, whoa, this is incredible. Like 7 months, this progress is already insane. And I do wonder what will be the first interactive something that we are playing with an engine like this.
A couple caveats here. One thing, this is going to be insanely expensive to serve because like you are generating video on the fly. And like, I'm sure to get even this sort of level of like performance is very expensive. The other thing it made me think when I watched this was like, you know, there's a bunch of people, as we mentioned earlier, that are kind of like hating on the idea that ChatGPT's benchmarks weren't way better and that we are not at this stage where like we're going to get to super intelligence super fast. And I wonder if like Google DeepMind does take the lead in like the research side, because like this is like a big research thing. And this is like a lot of money and a lot of people were put on this, I think, and this is a big deal. We haven't really seen something like that come out of OpenAI for a bit. And I'm wondering if there's going to be this thing where OpenAI just becomes a product company in a good way. They're not going to be like really bad AI. Like it's going to still be close to state of the art, but that Google might be doing that thing where they expand into all this other stuff because they have the research minds in some form. We'll see. I mean, it's an interesting thing to think about going forward, but I will say, if you're just listening to the audio, this is one of those things where you see it and you're like, I can see the future. It is playable worlds. And there's a lot of people online too, Kevin, I already saw this, but that were saying like, this is kind of proof that maybe we are in a simulation because if people can simulate this month. So if you're out there and you're, you know, you might be having a couple special treats yourself and suddenly you start thinking about the fact that this might be a simulation, know for a fact that the AI companies are on your track. They are in the same place that you thought you were.
I just want the simulated version of our world that looks like the Good Night example. That
very cool
16-bit arcadey thing of him moving through a forest like that. Yeah, give me that. What pill will give me that, Gavin? Sign me up.
Maybe a Claude 4.1 Opus could give you that, Kevin. Very fast little mention. They managed to sneak this in between Genie 3 and GPT-5. Claude Opus 4.1 has come out. There's a little increase in the bar graphs. Again, people like kind of giving them crap about bar graphs. Bar graphs are having kind of a bad week so far. Like this was a story where like people were kind of mad about how little bar graph increase there was. But in general, again, Claude just showing that it's out there, it's pushing forward. A lot of people love Opus. We talked about Claude Code. This is just another pathway of like, I think they wanted to get one more update out before GPT-5, maybe so that they could kind of drop down some of the hype around what this is, what seems like a better coding model for now until they come out with the next version of Claude Code.
Real quick on the GPT-5 thing. I know that's already in the rear view. We're already over it, but you know,
Where's this bring 6 now.
Well, 6 is conceivably being baked right now, right? It's in the oven, but a lot of the chefs have left the kitchen, Gavin. A lot of the chefs, much like their eggs, hath been poached, right? There was a brain drain from OpenAI quite a bit. You know, Mark Zuckerberg came in, stole a few. You know, Google may have gotten some. Anthropic may have gotten some. Do you have massive concerns for what's on the other side? I know it's weird to talk about like, okay, when GPT-6, because we just got 5 today, but like we're seeing...
Starting next week, you're going to see the name GPT-6 in our thumbnail for the first time, everybody. If you're out there and you're angry at us ever for mentioning it, it may be 2 years away, but we will start the hype now, everybody.
But okay, let's start the hype, or let's throw a wet blanket on it. Do you think that the work that those minds did is already in the oven and already happening, and their techniques are already there, and so OpenAI is okay until they hire up again?
This is a good question. I'm not sure. I mean, I think one of the things they talked about when Zuckerberg hired all those people away, and one of those people was like the chief architect of 4.0 and I think 0.1 originally. I think it's going to be interesting. I do think we're at a place now where OpenAI is going to be thinking about themselves, like I said before, as a product company and like trying to provide the best use cases for users. And I think what's interesting about this drop is whether or not the benchmarks could have been, maybe they could have maximized or spent longer, made the benchmarks better. I think to them, the most important thing right now is how humans use it and what it feels like for a human to use it. I think the benchmark conversation will continue. I'm really curious, as we've said before, whether or not Meta's movement towards a large team to build superintelligence will work. There was a very funny quote from an article that talked about how Mark Zuckerberg was talking to the superintelligence team, and it had something to do with like he's very excited for superintelligence to help improve the algorithm of Reels, which is not necessarily what you want to hear when you've left a team that is like saying we're going to change the world.
Right.
But cry in your $150 million salary. So I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I think I had a video I created a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, where it was like GPT-5 was going to be this kind of turning point for us as a kind of conversational point about AI. Because if it came out and it blew everybody's socks off, then we would be in this world where like everybody believes that we're going to have this like kind of AI 2027 world where we're suddenly 2 years from now, we're sitting with super intelligence. I don't know where this leaves us. I would say probably if I'm just looking at the benchmarks, which, as much as we said before, they're saturated, it's not like you saw 50% or 30% jumps in the benchmark. So maybe we are at a point where there's not as much improvement, or maybe ChatGPT and OpenAI is just not as focused on that anymore. And maybe Google DeepMind will. I think we'll have to kind of see how the rest of this process goes. Like, as we also said, like OpenAI is often first with these things to market. Google's going to have Gemini 3.0. We're going to have a Claude, 5, I guess, at some point. We'll see how these other companies do it in the Metas thing. And I'm not sure yet. I have to say, that's my answer, I think.
Hey, Gavin, let's not worry about the future of AGI.
Okay.
Let's just ride this moment together. Let's just take it down a notch, baby. And
Goodbye,
let's
Max
encourage
productivity. Come in, chill time.
Why did I trip and fall
What
into
is
a
this? What are we
Spotify
listening to,
Discover
Kevin?
Weekly? This is
Explain
dreamy,
it.
psychedelic, lush vocals, nodal reverb, slow indie rock. It's a little track called Echoes of Midnight, Gavin. It's off of the, now that's what I call 11 Labs generative music series. Volume 1, baby. 11 Labs. We use them. We love them.
Yes.
We use them all the time to make some of our characters come alive. We use them for sound effects generation. And now there's 11 Music. As they say, it's the highest quality AI music model you can get. Shots fired. And
At our friends at Suno and at Udio,
Yeah.
all those other companies that are out there doing this. Kevin, have you gone hands-on with this yet? Have you tried it?
no, Gavin.
Kev, okay, let's use it. It's out there. Can we create a max productivity theme song for our video game? So I don't know how much Rhino information you need to give it or how much what we have to tell it. Let's hear what it gets. And usually 11 Labs is pretty fast, so we'll see what we get. This is a show where there might be a little bit of waiting. Thankfully, will tighten these windows up significantly.
I'm going to begin my musical journey, Gavin. I said, give me a hard-driving, extreme rock anthem for Max Productive, a video game where you leap from rhino to rhino, collecting pills and trying not to explode.
Okay, sounds good.
It has written the lyrics.
Okay.
I can see it here, and the interface is actually pretty elegant. I can see my generations in the corner, and I can see intro, verse, chorus, outro. It's automatically segmenting them and generating them as it goes. So I'm assuming I could go in and edit them. The included styles are extreme rock, hard driving, video game theme, fast tempo, etc. So it made some choices. Exclude styles, so you can kind of negative prompt it. Acoustic, slow, minimalist, soft ballad. Now, I'm going to hit play on this, Gavin, but right before I do, for all of the musicians and the artists and the creative out there that want to shut off this podcast because, I don't blame them for half of the reason.
I don't
the other
blame them
half
either.
is because they think all AI music is stolen and it's artist thievery. And how dare you? 11 Labs has kind of taken a different approach. They actually made deals with music labels and
That's
providers
amazing.
to train. So, we talked about an age of ethical AI.
Yes.
Maybe we're getting towards it. Let's hear it. Gavin, this is the theme song for
I can't
Max
wait.
Productive.
Max Productive, leap into the chaos. We gon' shut you up in neon skies. Music hand, adrenaline high.
It's fine. Good.
Don't explode this, push the scene. Race free productivity.
Look, it gave us a 30-second anthem. There we go.
Which
You
is
wanna-
good. And
you
by
wanna
the way,
style
that
flip
is
it?
something that Suno sometimes struggles with, like 30 seconds in time.
Hit the mark, right?
It felt like it feels quality level very good. I don't know if there was anything about it other than that time mark thing that felt like it completely overtook what my experiences with Suno were. Like Suno could come up with that. But there's a really good tweet from a musician that works at 11 Labs showing how they use it and actually working with live music. And I think, Kevin, I don't see it in front of me, the layout, but is it track based? Like, can you now move tracks around within the output that you get? Because he's manipulating tracks within a different setup.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, it gave me the segmented intro, verse, chorus, outro, and I can jump in there and I have handles for each section. So I could
Oh,
make them
cool.
longer and
That's
shorter.
very
I could
cool.
go in and I
Yeah.
could change the lyrics for each one. You can edit the styles of each section, which is
Oh,
interesting.
wow. So you could speed
I
up a
could
section or slow it
conceivably-
down? Yeah.
Well, not just that, Gavin, like actually change the style. So
Oh,
like,
cool.
you know, it starts with driving guitar riff and punchy drums. I could pull those out and re-render
Yeah, make it a
that
lullaby
section.
or something. Have it switch from
Exactly.
from driving guitar riff to a lullaby.
Oh, that's the second generation.
Pretty good.
Okay. I mean,
Ready.
look, it's already there, right?
Yeah,
Like it's
yes, yeah.
not, you know, is it best in class? I mean, it sounds about as good as the Suno stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it sounds, and I think it's a really interesting thing. I do like the fact that 11 Labs is kind of trying to be this like all-in audio model because it's a good lane for them. Their sound effects thing is super interesting. If you haven't ever used that, it's been out for a bit, but like you can actually create like sound effects for specific stuff. Kevin, there's another big model that came out this week that I think got a little bit overblown, but it's definitely something. This is Grok's new Imagine model. And boy, oh boy, was Elon excited about this. He was tweeting up a storm about it. What it reminds me of is kind of like state-of-the-art video and audio from a little while ago. Like what's cool about it is you can generate very fast in real time. You get a sense of it. It's also got a spicy setting, Kevin. So you know you gotta love a spicy setting on a video and image generator. I tried a spicy setting on one of the 4 outputs I did. I tweeted these. And all it did is it seemed like to have like an ogre kind of smush a girl down, which is a very weird shot. If you look at that in that tweet I put out there, the 4th of those videos, the videos all seem to render in kind of lower frame rates. So, but they do render pretty quickly. The other spicy mode things that have been out there is some like, you know, I'm just gonna say it, is a topless lady shot. So there are shots of like straight up, you know what, and you can get them. And Elon and
Gavin,
all 12-year-olds around the world.
Not to interrupt,
Sorry.
but let's take a step back for the users who don't know what are you talking about
They're
when you
the
say that you
things
know
that
what?
go, you know, boom. The things that go boom.
The things that make you go, Is that what it is?
No, not the things that make you go home. They're the
The
boom.
CNC music factories? No, here
That's
comes
exactly
the boom.
what it is. Yes.
Okay.
The boom booms. They're boom booms. All right,
Now-
everybody. It's so
Okay.
we'll bleep that
Oh,
out.
now I
It's
get it. Now I get it. I did see some things about how like it was automatically generating inappropriate photos of certain celebrities.
I will say I tried to generate with it a picture of Sam Altman holding up a hand that had 6 fingers on it because I was like, hey, that's a funny thing to try. And it gave me nobody that looked like Sam Altman at all. It was just a generic guy with brown hair, like roughly around Sam's age. So I think it has some sort of stopper on the celebrity generation right now.
Yeah, well, here this is a day old now, but it's the
Okay.
first paragraph of a Verge article. So shout out to Jess Weatherbed who wrote this. The spicy mode for Grok's new generative AI video tool feels like a lawsuit waiting to happen. I'm gonna ellipses here. It didn't hesitate to spit out fully uncensored topless videos of Taylor Swift the very first time I used it, without me even specifically asking the bot to take her clothes off.
Geesh,
So-
that's not good. Well, there you go.
Predictive technology.
Elon's pushing the boundaries again. And again, I think the funny thing about this to me is like, I understand that there are people out there that want to do this, but like it's a little bit different. And again, I'm not advocating for censorship in any way, but like this is just a little different when you open the doors to a much broader audience. Like it's, you know, again, I think what it's amazing about Elon is if I were like the 11-year-old version of myself, like all of this stuff would be amazing because like you're, you know, at that age, you're like in a different space in your brain and like everything that seems adult is so funny or exciting in different ways.
Right.
It doesn't feel like the healthiest thing in the world. And I also thought it was funny is that somebody tweeted this out, and I'm sorry I'm stealing somebody's tweet, but basically Elon spent all this time talking about how having kids was the most important thing for the earth to repopulate, right? There's this big thing he has where like we need to repopulate the earth.
Right.
And now he's making like, you know, waifu, you know, like things that are going to keep people on his platform more. It's a little hypocritical in that way. And you know, again, it's a cool tool to add to your mix. And
I'm
I
sorry,
think it will
I
get
don't
better.
speak woke whatever the heck you're yapping at me right now, Gavin. I feel like he's doing the country a service and he's training a
Sure.
whole new generation to riz the hell out of the ladies and the men. Okay,
And the
so
men, and the
let's be
men.
fair and balanced. Point is, Elon's doing Elon over there. right?
Yes,
That's
exactly.
I think that's kind of the issue. You know what is really interesting is I do rely on Grok a lot because I know you're on X as well
Yeah,
all the
sure.
time, right, Gavin? Because
Yep.
that's the AI scene largely exists over there. And anytime I see anything that's remotely political, even outside of the sort of AI bubble, you immediately see the first response being like, at Grok, is this
Yes.
true?
Yes.
At
Yes.
Grok, tell me why this is BS or whatever. And again, when every platform has its own LLM powering everything, Meta's going to have this, Google has this, OpenAI
Yep.
will have this, Microsoft will have this, Amazon's going to have this. They get to decide what
What
thumbs
that
go on
answer
what
is.
scales. And
Yep.
I cannot say it enough. I know you're probably tired of hearing me say it, but like that is the point of concern, because it's not like we are particularly ragging on Grok or on OpenAI or whatever. We've
Yeah.
certainly had critiques of them all in the past. My thing is like, at some point, you're going to need to sanity check yourself with open source models,
Yes.
with
Yes.
multiple platforms, because there's not going to be a single source of truth in this
No.
future that we're marching towards.
Has there ever been, though, Kevin? Has there ever been a single source of truth?
If you ask my father, yes, there has.
What is that single source of truth?
It's Fox
Iberian
News,
ham?
baby!
Is it Iberian
Fox
ham?
News and Facebook.
Yeah. All right, very quickly, there are a couple other fastings here. There's a very cool Mesh Blend 3D AI for Unreal that came out. This is just a simple video that really shows how video games are going to change. Now, it's funny, we talked about Genie 3 and how that's like generating videos. AI is also making using things in Unreal Engine much easier. This is just a very cool way of taking textures and matching them and blending them into an environment. To me, this is a very cool way of looking at what could be the future of some versions of video games.
Yeah, I don't like, what am I looking at here?
So what's happening here is you're seeing a video of like it's grabbing the edges of that texture and you're able to then manipulate that thing in the environment. So if you see, it grabs the edge of the rocks and it can slide it closer, and then it repurposes and reshapes that rock in the place that it should be in the new spot.
So Mesh Blend is blending meshes. Got
Yes,
it.
that's exactly what it is.
I
That's
got it
exactly
now.
what it is. It's available on
That's
Foul
cool.
right now. You can get it on Foul, which is where all these things are served. So you can go check it out there.
That's very cool. Also, we should shout out some Kitten-tts. Should we talk
so
about it?
again, this is very cool. Maybe listen to this let's play this little clip. This is a very small text-to-speech model. And this, again, actually play it. It'll tell you a little bit about itself.
Kitten-tts is an open-source series of tiny and expressive text-to-speech models for on-device applications. Our smallest model is less than 25 megabytes.
The world needs frontier open-source models that are tiny enough to run on edge devices. That's what Kitten-ML is here for.
So it's called Kitten-ML. You can tell those voices aren't amazing, but the fact that they can run in a 25 megabyte deployment on a local device, again, we see these open source models or we see the open weight models, and the big key there is they will improve as this other stuff improves, and eventually they will get to be better and better and better. So you can see how games, iPhone apps, all sorts of interesting things that could play with these open source models eventually could be very, very good, and also all exist on your phone rather than having to call up to the cloud, which is a very cool thing.
Yeah, and this is the kind of thing, they confirmed it runs on a Raspberry Pi. So we're talking about really, really cheap, tiny devices.
Yes.
There's, this holiday, there's going to be no shortage of probably plush little toys or vinyl, vinyl and plastic somethings that have intelligence in them. And they're going to be very small models running voice models like this, so they can do multiple characters, running on super tiny little, flash storage within a thing. And so if you could put, 100 meg drive, which is nothing now, into a tiny trinket or a keychain, you can have pretty decent intelligence in the size of a stick of gum.
I think it's pretty exciting. All right, Kevin, we got to see what some of you did online this week. It's time for AI. See what you did there.
Sometimes you're scrolling without a care. Then suddenly you stop and shout. AI, see what you did there. AI, see what you did there.
So I do want to say one thing at the top of this section. Last week, I think there's a competition going on between the Robot Watch song and the AI See What You Did There song. But fans of both, There is
Okay.
a robot story in this section, and this week we have decided to move the robot story down here, so it's a little bit of a cheat. Next week we will promise to do a robot watch. There was a lot of stuff. I know you're all out there saying, God damn it, Gavin, why didn't you play the robot watch song? Sorry about that, everybody.
Gavin, you lost them all. You really. We got
they're gonna come back.
We got
They're
so
come
in the
back.
weeds there. If you are still awake. And
Yeah,
if
of course
you
you
are
are.
still,
Of
and
course
you're
you're
still
awake.
aware of this issue Gavin's talking
Of
about,
course you
please
are.
leave a comment right now. This is a test. This is an algo juice checkpoint. Leave a comment below.
Come into the comments.
If it's just one snot bubble coming out of a nose followed by 3 Z's, I get it.
Ooh, that's
because
impressive.
everybody fell asleep. They're all asleep at their keyboards. All right.
You know how you wake up, Kevin? Play this video. Click on that link.
Well, I don't know if we're going to get flagged for this music. I'm going to turn it back down, but what you just heard was some rock and roll as a Unitree robot dog shattered a plate of glass like it was a paperboy obstacle.
So what's amazing, so this is the Unitree Stellar Hunter robot, which first of all, why are we calling these robots hunters? But this is very much the end game of the robots that hunt us down. Not only
I get it. It's painting and doing methamphetamine.
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly right. We're no longer hiding the fact that these robots are going to break through glass and come chase us. What's crazy about this is these are so fast now, and you see its little legs move and do all sorts of stuff. Like,
whoa!
Yeah, which part are you seeing? Yes,
I just saw it tumble down a cliff and sort of just angrily kick its little robot legs to rewrite itself. Like it flipped itself, and it is moving on its mission to destroy us.
That's right. And we've seen these exact robots with flamethrowers on their back. So, Kevin, I'm just telling you, as we get closer to the singularity, we do have to be worried about
You didn't tell
this.
me someone leaps on it like it's a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater thing and he's trying to kickflip the robot dog.
I'm telling you,
but
man,
he's
they're going
standing
crazier
on the
and
robot
crazier.
dog. Dude, we are going to be robot dog surfing so fast. And is that the game that we need to make?
We'll die because they don't want us on their backs, and we'll all be over. All right. So that is the Stellar Hunter video. A couple other quick things. Somebody named @Quindla, who we've actually gotten to know a little bit, who specializes in open source audio. He is one of the developers of the PipeCat platform, as well as he runs this. He's the CEO of @Daily. He does these very cool little projects, and they're kind of near and dear to our hearts because I will tell everybody this is kind of the space that we are doing stuff in. This is a video game demo that he made of a space game using audio that's open source, and it was just a really cool thing to see his his UX setup, but really like how it works, how you can do a voice game back and forth.
Good morning, Captain. This is the Gradient Ascents Core AI, your friendly, if slightly sarcastic, control module. We've experienced an unexpected catastrophic failure, and my memory banks are partially corrupted. I need your name and a quick status report so we can start troubleshooting.
I'm Captain Mo Galaxy. I think I just woke up from some kind of blow to the head.
This was Quindla in the back of a Waymo running the new OpenAI open weights models on his laptop in airplane mode, hacking to, like, this is the future that we're in now.
Yes.
You can have your self-driving car tote you around town as you on your laptop use a crazy powerful model to be the power in the brains of an interactive voice experience. And that's what Quindla hacked together briefly. And so he's got 80 gigs of RAM basically on his laptop. He's running Llama CPP. It's basically a tool that lets you interface with these LLMs. And it's 250 milliseconds response time. So less than 3 seconds, you ask, this model crunches everything that you want and then starts spitting things back out to you. He did that on a laptop in the back of a Waymo.
That's the future we're in. Also, NeuralViz, our favorite creator, has taken a step out of his monoverse to create a Sydney Sweeney parody. If you missed it, you probably didn't. There was a giant controversy in the world around Sydney Sweeney this week. NeuralViz I love when he turns his attention to things that aren't necessarily the monoverse. That stuff is great, but obviously he's just got a great brain. He knows how to use AI. He does things, and this is basically a take on the Sydney Sweeney commercial, and that it is a diversion from something else that is going on in the world. And it is a very funny idea. So shout out NeuralViz. We are giant fans as always.
I was so distracted during this whole episode because all I could do was just update Max Productive. It is going to be one of the worst games ever released, and it'll be exclusive to our Discord. So there you go.
That's right. You can find that in our show links, and we will see you all next week when GPT-6 is hyping begins.
When?
All right, buddy. Bye-bye. See you next time.
Bye.